Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell. Welcome to 12 Games of Christmas. This is a series of videos that we've been going through where we talk about games from different genres that we think are worth putting on your Christmas list or buying for other people for Christmas. Huzzah! And the holiday season is beginning, and now's the time to start shopping before, so that you get everything on time. Most of the games that we talk about, we try to pick games that are in print and available online. We use Game Nerds, our sponsor, to look at, do they have these games in stock? And we found many of them there, so that's a good place to look for them. Now, this series of videos is sponsored by the World Series of Board Gaming, and there's going to be 16 different events in this World Series of Board Gaming that you can enter, and you need to know area control, drafting, resource management, resource trading, tile laying, auctions, route, network building, rondel, action selection. And I know this because I was looking at the different games that they're going to be going up. Gaia Project, Great Western Trail, Ticket to Ride, Ra, Azul, Catan, Terraforming Mars, Blood Rage, Dune Imperium, Carcassonne. And when you win let's say you play through Catan and you win Catan, you might end up for the semifinals playing Ra, and then for the finals you might end up playing Acquire. So you're never sure where you're going to be, so you need to be good at all the games. And speaking of being good at all the games, let's talk about 12 great two-player games that feature some of these mechanisms. Here we go.
So to kick things off, let's talk about Kingdomino Duel. This is a roll and write style game, which works very much like Kingdomino, very popular game. You are going to be rolling dice, you're going to be drafting those two, put them side by side to build a domino, and then writing those in on your own sheet of paper. There's one really clever part of this game. The scoring's nice, very like Kingdomino, the positioning of everything. But the main cool aspect is you are trying to pull these certain markers to your side of the board as your opponent is trying to do the same thing. And if you're the first one to do it, you unlock a one-time special ability. Very powerful stuff. And that's very interesting because are you willing to take a weaker die just to mark off some spaces and get closer to that, or let your opponent have it and score a lot of points for the different areas on your player sheet. Very neat, very simple, but thinky, enjoyable, fun, a nice amount of tension, some racing for goals. I really like this one. I think it's a wonderful two-player game. That's Kingdomino Duel.
And the next game we're talking about is Seven Wonders Duel.
Now, this is the little brother of the big brother, Seven Wonders, boiled down to a one-on-one battle royale, boy. Yes. I tell you, something where you're doing a lot of card drafting and also collecting resources so you can build your wonders better than your opponent.
That's right. Yeah. And if you don't get enough resources in those first few rounds and your opponent gets more resources, you're going to have a bad game.
It's gonna be on,
It's
y'all.
gonna be stressful, but it's a good stress.
Yes, it's a good stress, but it's fun.
It is
so
fun.
You gotta get it, because if you have two people that want to battle it out, you gotta get it, family. It's good.
We normally like to battle each other.
Yes, we do.
On the board game table.
On the board game table. Yes. All right, then.
Investigative journalism in college, and my favorite thing to study about was the Watergate scandal. I read the books, we saw the movies, it was amazing, and now I'm so excited that they finally came out with a board game about it. I immediately got the Geek Up Bits, which was pretty expensive compared, the game I think is $30 and the Geek Up Bits were about the same price. So I'm so glad that I finally have it though, because each card is historical, is factual, there's facts in the back of the book about each person, and this is only a two-player game. You could be the Nixon administration trying to get Nixon reelected and sabotaging the facts and everything like that, or you could be the Washington Post and try to connect the dots between two people that you are researching and tie them to Nixon. I have played both sides before, and I feel like they're evenly weighted. I think this game is well worth owning, and if you have anyone in college who is in the communications department or journalism department, I highly recommend this game. I will actually be buying this game for my university to leave in their communication department.
Next one on the list is Hanamikoji.
Yeah, as a two-player game, it captures the essence of that simple back and forward pull that a two-player game should often have. But I think it does it in a really simple way. And I think it does it in a way which, it doesn't feel like you're constantly tugging over the same objective. You can spread yourself across. It gives you enough places to play and enough recognition of what's important to focus on. It's really good that way.
It is a pure two-player game with 4 action tiles. You play one at a time, and it's just simple. I love the mechanic of I card, you choose, and as Taryn said, it captured it really well. So that is it.
And it does it really efficiently as well. That can sometimes be a really slow mechanic, but the way it works in this two-player game makes it really smart and really quick.
Our next game is a little different here. It's a two-player word game called A Little Wordy. Now, in A Little Wordy, this is a two-player back and forth game from the same folks who made Exploding Kittens, and this one has some silliness to it, but you draw some letters from a bag and you make a word from those letters. You're then going to write that word down, give the letters to your opponent, and then they're going to use clues that are worth a certain amount of points to try to guess what that word is. You have a bunch of letters and you're like, well, I can make many words from these letters, so what's the first letter of the word? That's worth more points, though. I might ask, is the word between 4 and 6 letters long? And it's a pretty fast game. You go back and forth just getting points, and the winner is going to have the fewer points because they've used clues that weren't as powerful while also guessing your opponent's word. Fast, simple, you can play over and over again. I highly recommend A Little Wordy.
For two-player games, I'd like to recommend Codenames Duet, which is a cooperative version of Codenames. You may have heard of Codenames, which is a team game where you're trying to guess words. There's a grid of 25 words, and you're trying to give clues to your teammates to guess as many words as possible that are yours. The grid is split up into words that are yours and words that are the enemy's team. But in Codenames Duet, you're playing together. You each have certain words that you want your teammate to guess, and those have some overlap with the other person, but you're both giving clues and you're both receiving clues. So there's no downtime, which is really cool. So you're just trying to give clues to your partner and have your partner guess, and they give clues to you and you guess words. So if you like word guessing games and are kind of on the same wavelength as your friend that you're playing games with, then Codenames Duet is great.
My pick for this list is Air, Land, and Sea. It is a great two-player game for those who are interested in the war theme, but want sort of a simpler, quicker card game to play with one other person. And so you are trying to win 2 out of the 3 theaters, and you have these hand of cards which have numbers on them, and some of them have special abilities as well. The way you win a theater is by having the most points in that theater. And so you might even decide earlier on in the round, maybe I can't win 2 out of the 3. So you say, you know what? I back out. I'm out of this. Done. And so the other player will win that round, but they won't get as many points. The longer the round lasts, the more points the person gets if they've won 2 out of the 3 theaters. So there's really interesting decisions to make in this game. So that's my pick. Air, Land, and Sea.
Oh my gosh. Dice Throne is one of my new favorite games of 2021. I cannot believe I've never played them before. What the heck? I actually bought both of these boxes used. I think I got them for $15 each. If you've never played Dice Throne before, a lot of people like to call it Battle Yahtzee, but basically you have your board, you can upgrade your cards on the board, and you roll 5 dice 3 times, try to get a perfect combo to do a certain action. You have points that you can use to spend on cards, and then you try to knock your opponent down from 50 health to 0. And the first person to do that wins. The Marvel one is coming out in 2022, and if you guys have already backed it, I mean, that's going to be exciting. If not, pick up a box like this. I don't have the entire season. I love Dice Throne. I think it's a great intro for any gamer, and I think it's a great addition to any gamer as well.
All right, the next game on this list was a surprise hit for me, and that was Undaunted. And you've got 2 versions to choose from, either Normandy or North Africa. The mechanics are the same, but North Africa offers different troops and includes some vehicles. Now the maps for both are going to reflect where the campaign is taking place. We're often a 2-player household, so it's always nice to find a game that fits this niche, and Undaunted fits it really well. This is a deck-building game where each player will acquire additional cards from their own market rather than a shared market that you see most commonly in deck builders. You use these cards to deploy and order your units around the map to secure objectives faster than your opponent and hopefully win. And there can be multiple missions that can be played in each campaign. I think it's really good in situations where both players aren't seriously into war games. This isn't a heavy war game by any means, but it may scratch that itch when you can't get a big war game to the table. So if you haven't given Undaunted a try, I recommend you do.
The two-player game we're recommending this holiday season is Skulk Hollow. This is a two-player asymmetric game in which you choose to be either the Foxen or the Guardian. These Guardians are these large, massive creatures with tons of powers and different ways of thwarting the Foxen heroes. Sure. And the Foxen have all different ways of thwarting them as well, with ranged attacks, melee attacks, magic attacks. And you drive the game through this deck of cards. And you can use cards to move, you can use cards to jump onto the Guardian, you can use cards to attack. So as you're moving around this little board, this little 3x3 grid board, once you encounter the Guardian, you wish to start attacking him, you'll actually move from that board to a sideboard where the Guardian is. And now you're jumping around the limbs and arms and head of this Guardian, trying to defeat them and using your abilities to take all of his health down.
Yeah, and the only way to do that is if you plug in every little heart on his body with, like, showing that you defeated that part of his body, you disabled this part of him. And if he shakes you down off of him, you have to start all over again. You got to get somebody else to jump up there. So it can be really challenging.
Really challenging.
Very satisfying, too.
This is a great game. You're basically just trying to attack each other and kill them. There are some other ways of victory as well, but that's our favorite way of playing.
And next one is Unmatched. Now, there are so many variations, so many characters you can choose from, which is one of the things that I love about it. And me and Tara, we don't usually play that sort of like that type of card games a lot.
Yeah, grid movement combat style is not generally our style, but we've always really enjoyed the way it works
in Unmatched. Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
You've got the asymmetry of the characters, but lots of different ways of playing. The way the board is set out, it simplifies some of like the ranged combat mechanics by color coding it. And yeah, it's really neat. It's not purely two players as well. It has team and 4-player type modes, but it works really well at 2 players also.
And it's very thematic, as we touched on earlier. Yeah. Different characters, different theme, and it's thematic to that particular character, like Buffy and Red Riding Hood and Medusa and
the Copple and Fog expansion. So yeah, so many different versions. They've really brought the old Unmatched into the modern era with the way that it's taken the dice out, and they've really got a well put together game there.
All right, let's end with one of my favorite games of all times, and that's Summoner Wars. The Summoner Wars 2nd edition came out this year, and if you've never played this exceptional 2-player game, you really need to try it out. Each player controls a summoner from one of, at least when you buy the game, there are several factions in the base game, but more factions will be added on. And you have a summoner and a deck of cards. You will draw that deck of cards using those cards as resources to put out the different people from your faction. And those cards are the people from those factions. When I say people, they could be orcs, they could be elves, it could be whatever your faction is. Each faction is very much different. You move around the board, your cards are your units, rolling dice and attacking back and forth. The factions themselves are very asymmetrical. They have a very different feeling about them. You know, in one we got dwarves who are bringing to life golems, and it's just exciting and fun and fast. And even though you roll dice and you're drawing from a deck, and there's randomness in both of those, the game feels incredibly strategic and fun. I love it very much, and I'm glad the 2nd edition came out because it's worth checking out. So that's Summoner Wars. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of another 12 Games of Christmas video. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, we hope that you can find these online. Check them out. Check out our sponsor, the World Series of Board Gaming. Their link is in the description below. And I hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell, and this has been 12 Games of Christmas, 2-player.